Some stars might push back. They're used to having the ball in their hands. And might take it as maybe a slight, but doesn't sound like you did. Why was that something that you were so happily to go on?
One, I'm not a star. Two, I want to win.
Why don't you think you're a star?
She said one question.
Handled so well. One, I'm not a star. Two, I want to win. That is like the most mature answer. How does that strike you?
Yeah, I think maturity is definitely involved, but there's just a lot of gravity to that. I love that he said that because he's letting you know, like, there's not a confidence issue with him. He's not saying I'm not a star. He's saying if stars complain, then I'm not a star. If you're gonna say that stars complain and stars go out here and make excuses, then I'm not a star. I'm a player that wants to win, and I feel that not only did he send a message to the rest of the league, I think that's a beautiful message to have go around your locker room to say, yes, I am selfless rather than selfish.
Yeah, I'm cool with this. I don't need the ball all the time in my hands. You have won a championship. Give me a comp, okay? Because that's what it takes on a championship team. So give me something that this reminds you of, a person, a situation, something else.
I mean, we had so many guys that had to take turns with being selfless on our team. Kyrie at times had to take a back seat. Kevin Love had to take a back seat a lot of the time, but there was games that JR was going off and you had to watch other stars manipulate their role on the team. But when you're going for a championship, it doesn't matter. Mikal Bridges having a struggle early on in these playoffs will all be forgotten if they go to the championship and hoist up a trophy. And understanding that is what can make you a champion sometimes. Sometimes it may not be in your story to hit the last shot at the last second to get that ring. But do you not want the ring?
Right, because that ring is definitely in your story, whatever it takes. Shump, we always appreciate your insight. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Jay.
All right, Hannah, to baseball.
Some stars might push back. They're used to having the ball in their hands. And might take it as maybe a slight, but doesn't sound like you did. Why was that something that you were so happily to go on?
One, I'm not a star. Two, I want to win.
Why don't you think you're a star?
She said one question.
So good. I'm not a star, and I want to win. Wilby, what do you think about what he had to say there?
That's who Jalen Brunson is. If there's a secret sauce to his career, that's what it is. His attitude and his feeling always that he's got to get better to reach stardom, which people would say, well, he's already there. He doesn't feel that way. I followed Jalen Brunson here in our hometown of Chicago since he was in high school. And, you know, his dad was an assistant coach for the Bulls, and his whole life was about work and getting better and adding this and adding that. And that's what he did. I mean, he was a second-round draft pick. The name of his foundation refers to that. I think it's second round, if I'm not mistaken. And that's what Jalen Brunson, that's the chip on his shoulder. Every day that he comes to the gym, people think I'm not good enough. I'm not drafted high enough. Dallas gets rid of me. They don't think I'm good enough. The Knicks initially didn't pay him enough. That's who he is. That's the secret to his success. So it doesn't, any other answer than that or something in that vein would have surprised me, and he doesn't take himself too seriously. And how lucky are the New York Knicks to have that guy with that attitude playing in New York, where everybody wants to be a star and presumes that he's a star, and Jalen Brunson says, no, I got a long way to go. And how lucky are the New York Knicks to have that?
Yeah, and understanding that what they're doing now with Kat is to his benefit, the benefit of the team, and getting them closer to that long sought-after ring.
Yeah, he said it. I want to win.
Yeah.
So. Let's stay in the East because there was news out of Philly. The Sixers moving on from Daryl Morey. There were high hopes when he got there. How do you assess his time in Philly?
All right, let me declare a bias first off. As I sit near Chris Collins, the head basketball coach at Northwestern and a dear friend. So is Daryl Morey, a Northwestern alum and a dear friend, and I have that bias working in any answer, so let me be out front about that. Look, when you have the disappointment that Philly's had, that the 76ers have had, somebody's going to be held responsible for that. And I texted Daryl this morning just to say, I know you were going to take this shot. And he had to know that. And I would not have gotten rid of Nick Nurse as the head coach who's wearing a championship ring. Daryl Morey did not draft initially Joel Embiid, who missed 2 seasons before he ever played in the league. So people can lay all of this at the feet of Daryl Morey if they want. I'm not laying all of it at the feet. But to extend him with that big a contract, Paul George and Embiid, and now you've got this situation. You've got 2 young, dynamic, talented, energetic guards you can go with. But are the Sixers like ahead in the conversation of the Knicks? Of course not. Of Detroit? Of course not. Of Cleveland? No. Maybe not even of Orlando, depending on sort of how they track over the next season or so. So they're still back in the pack in the East with this enormous payroll. And yes, the person who's in charge of that is going to be held responsible. And yes, that is fair. And if Daryl was sitting with us, I think he would tell you it's fair. Does it mean that firing Daryl Morey is now going to solve everything that the 76ers have going on? Is it going to clear up that contract that Embiid has when he's playing in the 50s in terms of games? No. Bob Myers, who's also a friend, and we've worked with him, familiar with this network and the architect of those championship teams at Golden State. Is Bob going to be able to sort of just whisper in somebody's ear and clear all that up? No. The 76ers have got issues, but they got 2 young, dynamic players to start with. Some franchises don't have that, but they're back in the pack in the East. And Daryl Morey is going to have other doors open to him. His track record and his talent says that he will.
Can we please retire the phrase "the process"? Though I just
please.
Never want to hear that again. It's just
Please.
I just can't.
Let it go.
I didn't like it initially.
Exactly.
They tried to transfer that to Washington for the Wizards' 7-year build.
Yes.
And that was to me like, no, the process is retired. Hannah, you are right about that.
All right. That is Michael Wilbon.
We love you.
My guy.
Bye. Have fun in
Love you
Chi-Town.
guys. Thank you both.
Brought to you by your local Honda dealer. So, JJ, we're going to start with you. Fact or fiction, Donovan Mitchell is a bigger threat to the Knicks than Cade Cunningham.
Oh, this is stone cold fiction. It's not even close because Detroit was perfect against the Knicks in the regular season. Cade Cunningham is a physical freak and is a pain in the neck to deal with on both ends of the floor. Donovan Mitchell is an amazing scoring machine. Yep. But defensively, he's not keeping you up at night. And, oh, by the way, the Knicks have a variety of different bodies they can throw at him. I think Cade Cunningham has an opportunity to go to work and have some mismatches like we saw in some of those regular season games. Easy call for me. I'd rather play the Cavaliers, and I'd rather have a 7-game series with Donovan Mitchell than Cade Cunningham. That said, I don't care who the opponent is. I'm picking the Knicks either way.
Love that. CeeLo, fact or fiction, a full week's rest will hurt the Knicks' momentum going into Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals.
Look, unfortunately, I think it's a fact. It's a long layoff. Look, it's great for OG Anunoby, obviously, to get himself right so that he's good to go or as close to 100% as possible. But the Knicks, God, they were going so well. And I'm not complaining. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, it is what it is. They beat their opponents so badly that they put themselves in this situation. Looking like Cavs Pistons is going to go pretty deep. So, it's good to rest up. But with all the momentum they had built and how well they were playing offensively, the way they were shooting the basketball, you'd love to keep that momentum going with just a couple of days off. I'm not concerned that it's going to cost them in the long run, but they might have to knock off a little bit of rust and some cobwebs early on in that series.
All right, JJ, back to you. Fact or fiction, this is the best Knicks team of your lifetime.
Wow, I've thought long and hard about this one a lot over the last week and change. It's a fact. Now, in order for that to be validated, the Knicks got to go and find themselves in the NBA Finals. But you just look at the margin of victory that they're winning in these games. You look at the complete nature of the basketball team. I love the 90s teams. The 94 team was super special. 98, they were super gritty. This team just has more answers. Brunson, Cat, Anunoby, Bridges. I could go on and on. Best team of my lifetime.
Yeah, I agree they're more talented, probably a little deeper, but I need the validation before I'm going to say fact. So I get what you're saying, but let me see them get to the NBA Finals and let me see them put in a big...
Goodness, the only starter for the Knicks that didn't have a plus-minus above 30 was Karl Anthony Towns with a plus 23. I mean, my goodness gracious. Just a crushing sweep victory for the New York Knickerbockers. 144-114 was the final. That's the most points in a playoff game in franchise history, breaking the record from earlier this month. That's how they're rolling into the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. Sitting back, chilling like the villains that they are in Philadelphia. My favorite moment was Jalen Brunson crossing over getting to the basket, going up and underneath of Joel Embiid, who, wait for it, this is going to drive you crazy because it's so wild. Wound up on the floor.
Oh, come on. No way.
Wound up on the floor. And then quick turnover. Brunson was hardly running up the court, spotted up for three and jammed that one down. And then you could just see all the Knick fans in the background just going absolutely nuts in that building. That program of geotag, and we are not selling our tickets to anybody unless you have a Philadelphia address. And I just, based on this photograph right here, everybody in the front row just staring into the abyss of an off season looks like they live in Philadelphia. And everybody, from the second row on back looks like they don't.
No.
Jeez.
That's a New York crap.
I mean, it's just was
wow.
Did you see the Mitchell Robinson posterizing Joel Embiid? A bunch of Knick fans showed up with that on a piece of paper and holding that up to try and get Embiid distracted while he's shooting threes in his home building. Didn't work. The geotagging program, back to the old drawing board, sort of like the Philadelphia 76ers season. Oh, this is so much fun. I sent you guys in the Rich Eisen Show Guillotine League text chain. That includes my son, whose Celtics got eliminated by the Sixers team that couldn't even get a win against the Knicks. A local report from a Philadelphia news station filled with Philadelphia 76er fan tears. Knicks aren't going anywhere. Hopefully they enjoy this. They're not going to do anything after this. Okay. Listen, it was tough to hear them over the Knicks fans chanting in the background. Mike Brown had this to say afterwards.
I got a lot of respect for you Knicks fans. I'm going to applaud them too. Let's go, Knicks. Great job. But I got a lot of respect for them, and the more you obviously you're around, that's the more you appreciate and understand why they are like that. But more than anything else, they're knowledgeable. It's a knowledgeable group or knowledgeable fan base, and you respect that just as much as their passion shows.
And I love Mike Brown for saying that. I will say this, as he's holding up what looks like the Donnie baseball sign that I did years ago. Okay, be careful. Be very, very, very careful, because as Charles Barkley, I think, accurately pointed out on Inside the NBA, just 2 weeks ago, that every single one of those Knicks fans that showed up wanted him fired. Yep. What are you doing? What do we bounce Thibodeau? Yep. We're down 2-1 to the Hawks.
Yep.
And that can happen, starting next week. 1 week from today. In a New York Minute is the way it's referred to.
Great song.
Because every single one of those Knicks fans, that's why it's kind of tough to even cape for my fellow New York, New Jersey Knicks fan brethren, because and sisters, if you will, because they act like the season's over and there's a parade coming and we're raising a banner. Do you raise a banner for sweeping the 76ers and showing up in full force? But Josh Hart loves it too. One of the Nova Knicks.
Were you even a little surprised at how many Knicks fans were here today?
Nah, man, because everybody was begging for Philly to not sell their tickets and that stuff. So, man, yeah, I used to think Philly was a sports town.
Ooh,
I don't know if it is anymore.
Oh,
that's a shot.
I hadn't heard that soundbite. Oh,
that's a shot.
Oh,
wow.
Oh,
my God. Oh. I mean, it's like you're staring at me like you want me to have some type of reaction.
No.
I've never lived in Philly. I never.
No. But I'm sorry.
I mean, look, it was a basketball team I liked. That's my only connection. So
he says with the. Put that shot up again. It's Dr. J behind you, man.
Yeah, okay. But
that's Dr. J.
Dr. J played for the Sixers years ago.
I believe today's the anniversary of that famous
it was
underneath.
Up and under?
I think today might be. Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah, I have no.
Tyrese Maxey, man, he's feeling it. This is one of those young Turks there in Philadelphia that's supposed to be reversing all of this. And he seemed like a very beaten young individual.